The Prelude to A Course of Love. This is a course in miracles. It is a required course. The time for you to take it is now. You are ready, and the miracles are needed. Hello folks, this is Cole, and Cole's Corner. And last week I went through the introduction to A Course of Love, received by Marie Perron. Also to let you know that there is another book with a very similar title. It's called Course in Love. That's not the book we are talking about, just so you know. This particular one is a maroon color and it's received by Marie Perron. So here we go. This is beautiful because it says this is a course in miracles, which is exactly identical beginning to A Course in Miracles itself. Yeah. Also it says it is a required course. However, Course in Miracles says only the time you take it is voluntary. This book says the time for you to take it is now. You are ready and miracles are needed. So today I'm going to speak about the prelude and also add some of the experiences that this course has generated. As I was doing it, really transformed my mind the way I did not expect it to go. I have this saying like, it does you despite you. So you're just reading this lovely book and it all makes sense. And you say, yeah, this is perfect continuation of A Course in Miracles. However, it is an absolute standalone. So if you never read Course in Miracles, don't worry about it. This will take you through the same journey, except it will drop you from the mind into your heart by introducing a modality, if we can call it that, and that is called feeling. So those who know me, you know very well that I am feeling obsessed, and that is only because what feelings have taught me is beyond what can be told. Why is that? Because feelings don't talk. However, for a long time, I thought that my feelings were actually the things I imagined they were. And what was the miracle was when I actually connected to my real feelings. Very different to what we in the mind believe our feelings are. So for example, if you call, let's say, anger, you're actually not really connecting to a feeling necessarily. You are going into the memory in your mind, or you have a certain sensation going on that reminds you of anger, and so instead of finding the real anger, we go into this historical anger, right? Which usually is like a manipulative device that is used to get people to do things your way. Hey? You get angry and the kids go, oh, mom's angry, dad's angry, we better behave ourselves, eh? It's not anger, it's just like a manipulative device to control people or masses or kids, right? The true feelings are something completely different, right? And like I said last week, you know, the easiest way to access feelings is through slowing down the speech. Begin to speak slowly. And when you do that, your feelings actually have time to emerge. And this was a big learning for me when I realized that For years, when I thought I was expressing feelings, I was expressing my ideas about feelings, and I was emoting instead of truly expressing. So I'm going to go into this just a little bit. Now, from my experience, I was going to demonstrate how one expresses a feeling. Now, feelings, you can't hear them, right? You can't see them. You can only what? Feel them. And that's exactly how feelings supposed to express. However, mind controls feelings. That's a fact. Constantly. Yeah? We have certain feelings come up and the mind goes like, don't express those right now. This is not an appropriate place. And off we go, denying what's really happening in us. We get so good at it. Eventually, we begin to hide and even not allow the feelings in ourselves, the real feelings. So what one has to learn is to realize this to start with. And then to learn how to step back. There's a beautiful lesson in Course in Miracles says, I'll step back and let Him lead the way. Right? This could be God, or Holy Spirit, or Jesus, hey? But this time, we apply it to feeling. Imagine a scenario where you feel perfectly safe, like 100% safe. The very thing of safety makes feeling go, oh, we can actually come out right now. So imagine that you take this holding of feelings away from them. So I step back and I let the feeling lead the way. So if you pause for a moment right now and you go, how am I really feeling? And you kind of step back and let the feeling inform you what it is, how it actually feels, by allowing it to feel more. Yeah? Feeling more doesn't mean that you pressure yourself to feel more. No. Feel more means you step back and you open a space in which feeling feels loved, accepted, embraced, held in protection, and has a ability to radiate out, and from that place inform now your more present mind, because you're present for something real, yeah, to inform you. This is like the new way of learning. We're just not taking information in our head. We're stepping back. We're being shown something we have never seen before. And this has been a huge shift in actually understanding feelings. And from there, they begin to expand. You know, you can trying to expand your mind. We're actually usually just going nowhere. However, we let our feelings free. That will bring about a presence that our mind will go, wow, what is this? And it'll be like a brand new revelation. And for those of you who might have revelations of any kind, you know, even reading Bible, you can have revelations. Suddenly, out of nowhere comes something that wasn't there before. Yeah? That's what really the peace of God is. An emergence of something that wasn't before. A brand new thing. Now we often hear like, yeah, go into your feelings. So this ego mind or whatever, this presence we call our presence, goes somewhere inside and goes down and walks into this field And he goes, looks around and goes like, oh yeah, there's my sadness and there's my grief. What is it doing? It's pointing to things from the past because it doesn't know anything else except past. Yeah. Mind does not know now. Ego mind, hey? It only knows history. So we need to train how to allow these new feelings, because when they emerge, our mind awakens something within itself. In A Course in Miracles, they call it vision, right? In A Course of Love, they call it more like observance. You begin to see that your two eyes could not see before. Yeah? So this exquisite presence suddenly emerges. And now there is a relationship. There's a relationship between something brand new with something brand new that just born within, that was just born within yourself. Now, how exquisite is that? Hey? Comes this moment where not only a brand new feelings begin to emerge, yeah, that's a miracle when we actually connect to this, right? It's a miracle. You feel something real. That's a miracle, right? That something real brings a different presence, and the relationship between those two is the birth of the heart. That's the real Christ being born. Because that feeling is that Virgin Mother, right? Virgin Mary, the virgin feeling that's just being born, which got lost. We lost this sense of feeling when we begin to hold our feelings down. That was the end of creation. We thought, oh, everything was created and now we're in it. No. We stopped the creation from happening in our construct, right? So we are unlearning now to, basically, we are going to a place where learning is over. We actually don't even have to learn it. We just have to become aware that what we did and stop. And what happens when you stop? You wait. And if you step back and allow what's being shown right now, something will begin to vibrate differently within. It's a very beautiful place of being. I call it a near-life experience. That suddenly part of us that's been held down for so long begins to vibrate. It begins to reverberate. My personal experience with this was like I was standing in a dry well for eternity. I was dry and horrible, and I saw the world from that point of view. Okay? And suddenly there was water, fresh, sparkling, golden feeling like water. They begin to actually fill in, and funny enough, it was coming from my feet, right? It's coming from my feet, and it took a couple of days, and it was just going up my legs. I'm going like, wow, there are some fresh sparkling waters enlivening this dried up carcass that was just struggling to survive, right? And it was awakening it with a blessing, with this light. And oh, so beautiful. Yeah. And the more it was moving within me, the more I was kind of like feeling the intensity of not being used to feeling life that's real. And within several days, I was almost wanting for it to stop because it was so beautiful, it was almost unbearable. You might think, well, how can you stop something so beautiful? When you have like an overdose suddenly of something that it's so brand new, and so exquisite and so constant. The part of me that was still rigid had to get vibration, and so this life was moving things that were dead. Yeah, that was like, I call it like that was like a walking cemetery full of ideas and spiritual concepts and deep meaningful sayings. Yet when this came, all that was just rubbish. It's just like, oh my God, there is nothing I need to know, because the truth, it will correct and show me all the constructs that I made and how false they were. Yeah. I will continue with paragraph 2 in a prelude. It says, pray for all those in need of miracles. To pray is to ask. But for what are you asking? This is the first instruction of this Course in Miracles. All are in need of miracles. This is the first step in miracle readiness. Asking for all to be included in what we do here. By praying for all those in need of miracles, you are praying for all to learn as you learn. You are asking to link your mind with all minds. You are asking to end your separated state and learn in a state of unity. This is a basic recognition that this is the only way you learn. How beautiful. So what is this really saying is that when we learn with mind only, we're actually not really learning. We're just learning what the world says we need to learn, or what we think we need to learn. However, if we are learning in a state of unity, we are learning from unity. And so that's why we ask everyone to join us. Like, for example, you might have a little revelation here, a little understanding there, and you go like, I've got something, but these other people are not getting it. What you're just doing, you make yourself special. With just separation, we're just teaching separation. If someone is different to me, this is not a holy son of God. I'm very holy. This guy is really not getting it. That's a trap we often get into. Oh, these people are not getting it. I'll tell you something. Next time you go to a market or somewhere where you see people, and just look around and say something like this. It's like, whatever it is that you're into, you could be into, I don't know, Abraham, or whatever you enjoy, whatever makes you go like, wow, this is my thing. Imagine for a moment that whoever you look at is a graduate of what you do. It's like, oh, here is a graduate of what I do, and here is another one, and here is another one. And you might think, oh, I'm just fooling myself. Well, guess what? Suddenly you're taking a different perception and you're using your vision, or your true sight. Because what you're actually heading towards is that you're looking at the accomplished within the others. Because in Miracles has a cool line. He says, you need to recognize the Holy Spirit in your brother, because that's how you recognize it in yourself, right? This is a similar thing. When you begin to see accomplished people everywhere, which is just a shift in perception, really, you begin to experience yourself differently. If you judge them, you're nailing them to the cross, and you're making a Calvary. You're making the road full of crosses and full of hanging people who say, here's like this, she is that, he is this, that guy's over there is that, yeah? And now you made yourself a world of your projection, as opposed to going like, hang on a second, there is a Holy Son of God and there is another one, right? There is walking Christ and there is another one. When you begin to look this way, you will begin to experience yourself differently. And that brings a clue, is of that, like, am I projecting or am I extending of who I am? Because ultimately, perception is not an attribute of God. Actually, God has no attributes. I call this kind of junk we kind of labeled God with. God is love, and God is this, and God is this, and God is that. It's not it. God is a brand new creating and creating and creating and brand new creating. I can't define it, right? Something. That's why we can never really put it down to a sentence. God is, right? That's why we say God is, and then we cease to speak, right? Now, if you observe yourself on your experiences, that's perception. That's making you see yourself in the eyes of a judgy, yeah? However, in a true state of your being, you simply emanate. The more you emanate, the more you find yourself in the emanation. You find yourself in the expansion of your nucleus or your core. I've been translating Course in Miracles into Slovakian and been doing these talks like this in Slovakian and A Course in Miracle lessons. And the word express, which is a very important word to pull apart and realize what it actually is, and that is the most important thing that we want to get good at, going to the experience of truth, going to the experience of expansion, right? In our language, in my original language where I come from, Slovakia, is that word actually mean going to the core and fully opening it up, just like flowers do. Yeah, flower just fully opens up, hey, and it goes, hey, and then bees come and take all this pollen, right? It takes and fully opens itself up. Why do we love flowers? Yeah, because they remind us of some action that's kind of exquisite, right? Imagine you'll be able to go to the nucleus, to the core of your being, and fully open it up. It's like, wow. And now stay there and just beam. What does flower do? Nothing. It just beams. It radiates this exquisite fragrance, and it's shining its beautiful colors. And so can we do the same. Yeah, like, what's the color of your essence? What is the color of your being? What's the sound of your joy, of your pure joy? Yeah, and if this does not get what? An expression, it has what? It has holding. It's actually, we'll come back to that in a chapter 7. It's called withholding. Yeah. The human being, in most cases, is like a walking withhold. Yeah, it's just like, I'm not going to show what's in there, right? And what I'm suggesting here, that we become just like the flowers, we begin to open up. But then, when we see others that way, we're going to have a very different relationship. Because we're no longer looking at what people do. Yeah, what people do put on. It's like, oh, look at that skirt, right? Instead you go like, wow, look at that flower. Look at that being. So instead of judging and nailing people to cross, we begin to see what's truly there. There's a beautiful lesson in A Course in Miracles says, I'm upset because I see something that's not there. And that's true. We're upset because we're seeing something that is actually not there. We train ourselves to see what's not there, and instead we lost connection to what's truly there. And in that loss of connection of what's truly there, we forgot who we are. And that was the descent into the separation and a paradise lost. However, there's a chapter coming, it's called Paradise Refound. And where is that? What did Jesus say? The kingdom of heaven is within. Yeah, it's got nothing to do with form. However, when this observance or your true vision or seeing things through your heart, begins to happen, when you stop looking through these two eyes, you just use them as a backup so you don't run into a wall, right? However, you will start seeing something else. When these two eyes unite, you will get to the core again, into the essence of your being, and in there is a different form of seeing. This is looking at paradise. This is looking at heaven. Heaven is a decision that I must make. So it's all within you. And the whole salvation also comes from you the day you decide to do things differently. So what he's saying really here is like, hey, if we think we are doing this and somebody's against it, now we are doing something in the presence of opposition. However, we begin to see like, what if everyone's joining me? Okay? Like I spoke about last week. Yeah, it's like the more you give, more you have. So whatever that you want to have, you go, what do you want? Right? Something comes up, what you want, or you think you don't have. It's like, I want this. I'd say, what does that feel like? And when you have the miracle of connecting to the real feeling, right? That feeling will step forward and begin to lead the way. And when that feeling begins to lead the way, you're going to get into this state of unity, right? Because you're uniting with your feeling, you're not in a disconnected state from yourself, yeah? And you begin to be informed from that place. And he says, this is a basic recognition that this is the only way you learn. Separated self or the ego does not learn. Even when ego has taken many courses and received many teachings, the ego has not learned, but has merely become threatened. Now check this out. This is funny, virtually. This is like ridiculous when you look at this. Spirit does not need to take A Course in Miracles, right? Now if ego cannot learn, and the spirit does not need to, then who is this course and all other such courses for? Learning our true identity, the core self, capital S, self. The identity of the self that is capable of learning is something everyone must do. Can the ego learn this? Never. Because the ego is a separated device. Again, I keep jumping in the course because there's a cool line. It says, you made ego without love. You didn't create it, you made it. You made ego without love. And so ego doesn't love you. So ego say, yeah, let's go on to this journey. This is going to be deep. You ate up 30 years looking at the wall. And, you will have your moments. However, you'll still want to kill your brother who is making too much noise while you're looking at the wall. Right? So that's maybe the ego's way. Seek and do not find, right? However, there's something else in you that can take you to the true learning, hey? So can ego learn this? Never. Does spirit need to? No. Who then is this course for? And then now it says something that could probably trigger the Course in Miracles students, but they need to be triggered just to get them out of the ego bubble, hey? This is a basic question that was not adequately answered in A Course in Miracles. While A Course in Miracles is meaningless to the ego, unnecessary to spirit, it would seem to have no audience at all if these are the only two states that exist. I love this. Since it is impossible to be part spirit and part ego, assuming there would be such a state in which learning could take place would be meaningless. Here you go. Paragraph 5. The world as a state of being. What? The world as a state of being, as whole, has entered a time brought on largely by A Course in Miracles. Yeah, the mind training was necessary, in which readiness for miracle-mindedness is upon it. A Course in Miracle opened a door by threatening the ego. Yeah? All those who with egos weakened walk this world with the hope of leaving ego behind, with miracle-minded intent, have awakened human being to a new identity. They've ushered in a time of ending our identity crisis. Yeah. Not since Jesus walked the earth has such a time been upon mankind. Paragraph 6. What is it in you that is capable of learning? What is it in you that recognizes that ego is not what you are? What is it in you that recognizes your spirit? What it is in you that hovers between the two worlds, the world of the ego's dominion and that of spirit? What recognizes the difference? The Christ in you. Bingo. And so when this feeling part of you begins to reverberate again, when you go to this near life experience, yeah? So now we have the Father, which is this exquisite presence. Now we have the Mother, the Virgin. Yeah, you put anything into her and she will birth something, right? So suddenly your mind is clear of all this junk and you have an inspiring thought, right? Something like Christ, a pure being, supreme being, right? And then you take that idea and you drop it into the mother. You put in a seed and she begins to birth it. And guess what? Pop! And your heart is full of love. Love that wasn't there before. Love that has not been yet. The brand new thing. Just like brand new shoes, except you never wear them out. You're just simply birthing a brand new you. And it's just like a little shoot comes in, huh? And because ego is such a tricky little thing, right? You got to watch that, because this ego will still want to kill the Christ, right? That's like the idea of Herod, yeah? Where's the kid? oh, let's kill them all so the kid can't be born, right? So now we're smarter. We see that we begin to recognize what is ego, and we recognize what's truth. Yeah, the truth will correct all errors in your mind, right? So now there's this little shoot that's birthing in your heart, that's bringing you new messages, like a new information of what heart is, not by definitions, but by quiet recognition that the second coming has occurred in you. And now you begin to personally grow into your full Christ. Yeah? And so this course is actually for the heart, for this child, for this Christ in you. Because no matter how much it awakens in you, a little bit of help from our older brother Jesus will still take us further. Yeah. So off he goes. It is easy to imagine how Christ in you differs from your ego. But it's not as easy to recognize that Christ in you differs from spirit. Check this out. The Christ in you is that which is capable of learning in human form what it means to be a child of God. Wow. Can you see the mission that's in front of us here? The Christ in you is that which is capable of bringing the two worlds. This is what is meant by the second coming of Christ. The ego is what you made. Christ is what God made. The ego is your extension of who you think you are. Christ is God's extension of who He is. In order to end the need of learning, you must know who you are and what this means. Where the original Course in Miracles was a course in thought reversal and a mind training, by the way, the most exquisite mind training there really is. I've spent 30 years with this Course in Miracles, and it was just profound. Although I was very lucky to spend another also parallelly with this, he did this thing called Right Use of Words, which ahead of time trained me actually to how to express my feelings truly. So for me, the ultimate trilogy, if you want to take something huge and learn of each of these qualities, which is mind training, the feeling training, and Course of Love, which is the course of the heart. So it's an exquisite trilogy that just puts a smile on my face when I came to that place of graduation of all three. Yeah, there comes a time where you realize that you are the accomplished, and that what God placed in you does not really need learning as such, but it does need a bit of help to bring that about, so it flourishes. It comes to this thing like a flower where it just fully opens up, and you beam the right out. You become like the shining star, in the sky. But it's not just somewhere out there, but it is in your core, in a full expression. That's why I mentioned that whole idea of the word expression, meaning that going to the core of what God gave us where He created us in His image, which is not an image at all, right? It's just like the way God is, we are the same. Yeah. So I was just telling a friend the other day, I was driving a car, I'm going like, hey God, what is it like to be you? I shouldn't have said that because it nearly turned my car into an airplane, and I virtually vanished from this world. Like the whole universe as I knew it disappeared. And for an instant, I had this experience of what it's like to be God. And I went, okay, thank you very much. I'm so happy. Because in my still quite dense level of dense level of expression, that was just a very intense experience that I could not endure. There's no way I could reverberate, and rightly so, because God is the highest vibration, and we're trying very hard, but we'll never vibrate on that level. And maybe we will to some extent, but similarly, the God will be always the source. And that just puts us in the right place. So what you get to learn as you go along, that your body is actually this exquisite learning device. Yeah, it's capable of incarnating anything, including God to some extent. More like a reflection of God, hey? It's capable of incarnating anything, right? It's like next time you meditate and you sit there and you just go like, hey Jesus, what would it be like to be you? And then just step back and make sure that those feelings are there, because those feelings are the one that actually are an experience. How do you experience something? Well, you feel it, right? Like I said last time, we do everything, every single thing we do, yeah, is to have an experience. No matter what we do, we just want to have some kind of experience. And what is that? Well, we feel something. So no matter what you do it to feel something. And yet, we are so good, or trying to be so good at doing things, but we're not so good at just feeling things. Yeah? Just to feel good. You can just decide and go, hey body, if I was just feeling good, what would that be like? And then body is going to show you immediately, it's going to move itself, and it's going to bring about for you an experience to learn what it's like to just feel good. I mean, if you're doing everything in life just to feel good, yeah, to have a roof above your head, to have a car to drive, to have some beautiful relationship to be in, right? What are we doing all that for? Because we just want to feel good. But we spend years working hard on getting those things so we can feel good, instead of just going and just feel good. And even that does not require effort, because if you ask, you shall receive. So you sit, you close your eyes, and go like, okay, for next 15 minutes, I'm just going to feel good. It's a decision. Because you know what? You feel bad, you actually decided to feel bad. You judging circumstances, and I said like, oh, this is not happening, this is not happening, this is not happening, I'm going to feel good. It was a decision. Yeah. So is heaven, right? So you decide or undecide to feel bad, and you just say, okay, now I'm going to feel good. That's for good measure. And you just sit there and you begin to feel good, and make sure you feel it all the way down your feet, down your legs, and your whole body, every part of you, and just feel good. So now I step back and let the feeling show me what it's like to feel really good. And now you begin to feel a little gentle little feelings of feeling good. Now, more you step back, the more these feelings have a chance to create for you reality in which you're just going to feel good. Right? And if that's going well, then you step back even more and you give this creation of feeling good, even more space. The next minute you take a deeper breath and you go, my gosh, this feels so good. Huh? You didn't have to go and get something. You didn't have to turn on telly. You didn't have to play some music. You didn't have to do anything. You just sit there and you fully beam yourself into existence. Because God created paradise for us. And what was paradise? It was like, hey, feeling good. Yeah? We just had what we needed, and everything just sprang forth by just an idea of it. And that's creation, right? So now we're doing the same. Just going, okay. Somewhere later on, he says something really incredible. Somewhere in the chapter 5 or 6, 621, I think it is. He says, it was the denial of your happy thoughts that led you to such, can't remember, misery or something like that, right? Because we just begin to focus on something we don't want, and we gave it a full manifestation, and now we are so good at it. We know how to make misery, we know how to make sickness, we know how to make death. We're just very good at it. It's simply that. And so, we achieve, become an amazing achievement. We prove God that there is no eternal life. That, hey, let me prove you wrong, God. There is death. Look, I can slow myself down to almost no movement, to almost no life, to prove to you that death is real, right? And now we're basically going, okay, you want to keep doing that, that's fine. But here is a manual that actually teaches you and showing you the way to eternity, if you want it. If not, there's plenty of material out there that will just keep you going, to the other way. So here we go. So you just feel good, and you feel good. Now you start feeling really good. If you're doing this correctly, and there's no effort, actually using the word doing is wrong. If you allowing this to happen, you're feeling good, and you're probably smiling by now. Because I tell you something, when the capital S, self, your true core, comes in, it's like when you look at the flower, it's not grim. Yeah, it's like a major smile. It's just fully open. Yeah? And when the truth begins to return to our awareness, it does one thing for sure. It smiles you like you just can't smile without that truth backing you up. Just puts on this really subtle smile that just immediately magnifies this feeling good into joy. Yeah? So there is your joy, is your peace, and a feeling good happening all at once, right? This state actually has no opposite, right? The minute you deny it, you have something that is good or bad. But this state is just feeling good eternally. So those are the little things that help us actually to just feel. Because you can decide to feel either good, you can practice feeling joy. Yeah? Just get an idea of joy. Yeah? Or think of something really nice, like what was the highlight of your week? And you will come to something real simple. It's like, I ask people, it's like, hey, what was the highlight of the week? And it's like, they gave me this most exquisite smile, which is similar to this creation thing, yeah? I says, it's just sitting on a porch with my wife and a kid. It's just like at the best moment. And we both melted. It's like, oh man, I can feel it. And I go, And what was the sound of that? And he just went, oh. And from then on, he could not speak. It was like, oh. And suddenly that expression multiplied, extended, it began to flow, began to make itself bigger and bigger. And it goes like, wow, it was really amazing what happened with my, me sitting there with my wife. But now I'm actually feeling it like on a very different level. And there you go. So you're doing these moments where you're just going to look at just all the good things that are happening. Yeah? And there's going to be not big things. We think, when I achieve this huge thing, then I'll be happy. No. You'll be happy for very little if you do it correctly. You just get happy for no reason at all, almost. Or some small reason. But let's begin with the small reason first. As you just keep stepping back and more of this new existence begins to leave you, right? It begins to take over, and you just keep learning how to step back, and you learn. Because what did you just do? You actually united with your feeling. Because remember, feeling is that which gives the experience. Feeling is the creation. Yeah? So here comes the crisp thought. You drop this into the mother, the virgin creator. She begins to open it up, and her heart goes, yeah, I love this. This is love. Yeah. It comes into this state of flower being open to the max, right? And guess what happens to your body in that? Yeah. It goes into what we call the elevated self of form. And suddenly, every cell in your body, every part that's physical, begins to vibrate on a speed of light. And you begin to experience yourself as God created you. And this is just like a silly little exercise, huh? But as this becomes a part of our daily bread, we feed on this rather than on our little crumbs that the world can provide, right? Begin to feed on something completely different, yeah? And this is what really meant, your daily bread is this. You create yourself heaven on earth, right? So paragraph 9 says, there are still few who dare to believe in the glory of who they are, few who can lay aside the idea of what to think of themselves in the light of God's thought of them, rather than their own, is arrogance. This is only because the ego is not yet and finally gone. Now, if you have lots of thoughts in a day, I tell you a secret. That's only because the feelings are not available. The minute feelings return, your mind will quieten down naturally, right? You don't have to try to slow it down. All you have to do go like, how am I really feeling right now? I step back to find out. And then you wait to be informed, and then feelings come in, and then the mind stops. What does ego tell you? Hey, don't worry about feelings. Feelings, just like accept them and just let them go or whatever. Why? Because if you actually really let the feelings in, the ego has no chance. It is your feelings who will actually recognize your ego for what it is. Because like we said last week, you can't heal the mind with the mind. So something else has to pop you out of that bubble, right? And that's something else that pops you out of the bubble, is this unity consciousness, is this feeling state of oneness, yeah, where true learning begins to happen. Yeah. This is the only, because ego is not yet and finally gone. You are right not to desire to glorify the ego in any way. You know that the ego cannot be glorified and that you would not want it to be. This is why, while the ego remains, you cannot know who you are. If your mind is preoccupied with past thoughts all day, you can't really see who you are. The only glory is of God and His creations. So if we don't create like God creates, we are miscreating ourselves. That you are amongst the creations of God cannot be disputed. Thus, all glory is due you. All glory is yours. And your efforts to protect it from ego's reach are valiant but unnecessary. The ego cannot claim the glory that is yours. Paragraph 10. Many of you desire to be the foot soldiers, to just live a good life without claiming glory, without having any grand ideas about yourself. It is possible to do much good without recognizing who you are, but it is impossible to be who you are, and you are what the world is for. Check this out. Your recognition of your capital self and your recognition of your brothers and sisters is what the world is for. Right? So now we're realizing one thing, that this world is a good thing, because it reflects to us what we can't see. It actually reflects to us what to forgiveness, if such a thing is still necessary. And how you do it. Something triggers you, it's nothing to do with the person, it's to all to do with the trigger in you. Yeah? That person only came to bless you, saying you, hey, can you see what you got in there? See you later, right? And so you go, aha, thank you. I have unforgiven feeling in myself. So you begin to change your relationship to this feeling. You step back and you give this feeling freedom to fully express itself. So it teaches you what it was holding. The end of creation began when we begin to hold feelings. The original cause of everything that went slightly off is the moment when you go, oh, I can't express this. Nothing else, guys, nothing else. Oh, I can't express this. There's like a tension, lockdown, and whoop, here we go. COVID-19. Hey? So to stop before this is accomplished when it is in search of every bit as insane as the belief in the ego. So I read this again. Your recognition of yourself and your recognition of your brothers and sisters is what the world is for. To stop before this is accomplished when it is in search of every bit as insane as belief in the ego. Ask yourself what it is that stops you. As humble as you seem to be in your choice, you are still letting ego make your choice. This is not humility, but fear. So it goes to paragraph 11. The further teaching of the original course was designed to turn fear into love. When you think you can go only so far and no further in your acceptance of the teachings of the course and the truth of yourself as God created you, you are abdicating love to fear. You are perhaps making this world a better place, but you are not abolishing it. This is a real key sentence, yeah? So you go like, oh, the world is a little bit better. but it's not abolished, right? Because still in you are this projection that make perceptions, right? There still is a world, we make a world. There is a moment where the world disappears because you're no longer projecting anything out except light. In your acceptance of doing good works and being a good person, you are accepting ministries to those in hell rather than choosing heaven. Now this is a little bit hard on us, right? But it's a tough going. Jesus is going like, okay, it's time to put aside the children's toys. Let's grow up, right? So I read this again. In your acceptance of doing good works, I'm helping people, I'm being a good person. You are accepting ministry to those in hell rather than choosing heaven. You accept what you view as possible and reject what you perceive as impossible. You thus cling to the law of man and reject the laws of God. You claim your human nature and reject your divine nature. And then he goes in paragraph 12. What is this rejection but rejection of your capital self, of yourself? What is this rejection but fear masquerading as humility? What is this rejection but a rejection of God? What is this but a rejection of miracles? You who have rejected yourself are likely to feel increasingly burdened. Although an initial burst of energy may have followed your reading of the Course and your discoveries of other forms of truth, although you may even have experienced what seems to be a miracle happening to you as you continued to reject yourself, this energy and these experiences that lighten your heart would have begun to recede and to seem as distant and unreal as a mirage. All that you retain is a belief in effort and a struggle to be good and to do good, and believe that clearly demonstrate that you have rejected who you are. I'll bring it to an end with this last paragraph because this was like a wow. Came to me as a wow a little bit later, maybe on a fifth read of A Course of Love. Oh, child of God, you have no need to try at all. Trying is dying, remember that thing I say? No need to be burdened or to grow tired and weary. You who want to accomplish much good in this world, realize that only you can be accomplished. You are here to awaken from your slumber. You are here not to awaken to the same world, a world that seems a little more sane than before, but still governed by insanity. A world in which it seems possible to help a few others, but certainly not all others, but to awaken to a new world. If all that you see change within your world is a little less insanity than before, then you have not awakened, but still are caught in the nightmare your ego has made. By choosing to reject yourself, you have chosen to try to make sense of the nightmare rather than to awaken from it. This will never work. So there we go. That's just a prelude. And prelude covers a lot. There's a lot of depth, as you can hear, particularly feel. And later on, when the course was finished, there was something called addendum. And in addendum, there was one sentence that really caught my eye, my ear, my heart. And it said, when you don't understand, don't worry. It will come to you later. And if you have a question what it means, rather go into it like, don't worry what it means, but how does it make you feel, right? And this is a course for the heart, right? And this is a course that will teach us how to free the part of ourselves that feels, the magnetic of you. That is that which will birth your brand new heart, which is the second coming of Christ. And it's not going to be some kind of out-of-body experience, but fully embodied experience. We finally incarnate ourselves as God created us. So thanks for the listen, and I'll catch you in next few days. Okay.